Hey folks, it's me, Candor, again, back with another video. I know it's been a little while, but things here have been a little hectic. But today, thanks to the great people at Lexivon, I wanted to show you another tool. This one's a little bit weird in how it came about because technically they didn't ask me to originally review this tool. It was more along the lines of I expressed an interest in it, and they decided to offer the tool to me if I would review it. And that was quite a while ago, before all of this, pandemic hit. And I have not been able to get a chance to actually sit down and actually do the video. But today I'm going to show you something that if you're a woodworker or a drywall installer, or maybe a masonry or anything like that, especially if you do crown molding, you're probably going to like what I show you today. What I have here is Lexivon's, basically it's a protractor and angle finder. And as it states right on the box, it is good for crown molding, miter cuts, layout work, carpentry, plumbing, metalworking, single cuts, drywall work, and masonry. And basically what I use this for, or what I expressed an interest in this, was for my 3D printing, believe it or not. I'm one of these kinds of people that when I try to design something, for me to say, okay, a 23 or a 25 degree angle should go here, I can't visualize that properly. What I would use this tool for would be to basically move it to an angle that I would feel comfortable with, and then reading the number off of the gauge and then designing that angle into basically whatever it is that I was designing. I can show you a little bit of that in a bit here. But what you get is, it's a really nice all aluminum tool. It's the markings are really easy to see. Again, it's a high contrast. Everything is quite easily read. It moves fairly easy. It's one of these things where it's stiff enough where it's not going to move on its own, but it's not so stiff that it's going to require Herculean strength to open it. No, it's actually quite nice. It's got a really nice feel to it, and I believe that you could probably even adjust it a little bit if you were to tighten or loosen that screw right there. But basically what this tool does is it will allow you to measure inside and outside angles. And for instance, if you wanted to measure the corner, you would just put it up against your corner and you would just measure from here to here, and then you would read your gauge and it would tell you exactly what that angle is. If you wanted to read an outside, you would place it up and put this into your corner and line these up against the corner, and you just read the other gauge. I will show you little pictures of what I've done with this, because I don't really have any crown molding projects going on. I wish I had had this tool about 4 years ago when I was actually doing crown molding in my old place. This would have been a godsend. But I will do my best to try and explain to you and show you how this tool actually works, and how to properly read it. In other ways that I've used it, and to give you an idea that it's not just for crown molding like the box says. It can be used for a myriad of different things. And that's actually what a good tool is for. A tool that can be used for more than one situation is a tool that is well thought out and well designed. But also in the box, and again, this is where I really like Lexivon. I don't know who is in charge of Lexivon and their tools and their manuals per se, but their manuals are always so well illustrated and so thought out, and just, you can see here, this is how you would actually use it in your corners. You just measure it into the inside corner and how you do an outside corner. It's got very well illustrated pictures. It tells you exactly step by step what you need to know. And again, step by step, how to go through, like an inside corner. This is your miter saw right, which piece that you're going to save, your bevel swing. It goes through step by step. I like it. it's not just one of these cheap little thrown together pieces of manual that just give you instructions that say, well, the tool can do this, but not show you how the tool does what it does and leave you, wondering what's going on. Lexivon seems to have a lot of good thought when it goes into their manuals. This is what everybody's going to want to use if you do crown molding. This right here is the guide that you're going to need. And the first thing that you're going to need to know is it a 38-degree crown or a 45? There's two types of crown molding. There's a 52-38 and a 45-45. And basically what that boils down to is that 45-45 has the same 45-degree cut or angle on the top and the bottom of the crown molding, whereas a 52-38 has a 52-degree angle at one edge and a 38-degree angle at the other edge. And this is what you need to know. Most people use 45-45 crown molding. And let's just say, arbitrarily, you decide to do a simple 90-degree corner, which is what most people would use it for. The miter gauge would read 45. So you would look up 45 on the chart here. And then you would just move over to your 45-45, and it would tell you that you need to set your miter gauge at 35.3 degrees, and you need to set your bevel angle at 30 degrees. And what that allows you to do is, rather than having to cut the molding standing up like this at an odd angle, especially when you got those edges that may or may not allow you to get a good placement, completely vertical, it allows you to cut your crown molding flat. This way here, you can lay the whole piece down on top of your workbench, your miter box, and just cut it flat so it doesn't slide around on you, and it's more easily, you push it right up against your fence and keep it straight and steady. And again, I'm going to try and show you a little bit of that as well. So let me take a moment here, and I'm going to try and illustrate a few things that I've used it for.
Now, real quick before we begin, just let me apologize. I'm going to be doing some voiceover dubbing. Apparently today's the day that everybody in the neighborhood has decided to have their landscapers show up to do some work because the weather has finally become nice. So rather than subject you all to hearing lawnmowers, leaf blowers, weed trimmers, and the such, I'm just going to do some voiceover. So the first thing you're going to notice is that there are two dials on this tool. There's the outer dial, and then there's the inner dial. And the way that this works is the inner dial is the one that you will read if you were to be making miter cuts, like for molding. And the way this works is I use this tool to take a measurement of one of the corners in my room, and it is reading right now 47 degrees. So the way you read this is to read a miter cut, you use the arrow on the outside ring pointing inwards because you want to read the inner ring for your miter cuts. So you take that arrow where it's pointing and you read the number that corresponds to the inner ring, which right here is 47 degrees. And one other thing to notice is that on the inside ring, you're going to notice that it's marked off in 1 degree increments, and on the outside, it's marked off in 2 degree increments. Now, to find a single cut, or just if you just want to know what the angle is of something that needs to be measured, then you would use the outside ring. You would just move both of the arms until you've matched up the angle that you're trying to get to, and then you would read from take the arrow located on the inside that is pointing to the outside dial, and then you would read the number on the outside dial to get the corresponding angle that it represents. So the first thing I wanted to show you here is I wanted to design a corner shelf to hold some of the knickknacks that I have 3D printed over the years. But in order to do so, I needed to know what the angle was in this corner. Because not every corner is a perfect 90 degrees. I have never seen a house that has a perfect 90 degree angle. So in order to get that angle, I used the device to measure the inside angle. And the inside angle measures out to 91 degrees. I have a little test plate that I had made up on the 3D printer first so I could fit in the corner to make sure that my measurements were correct, and it is a perfect 91-degree angle. Now I know it doesn't really look like a perfect 91-degree angle, but it's because of the paint job on the chair molding, or it overlaps onto the wall and it makes it look wrong, but as you can see, it is a perfect fit at 91 degrees. So I just took the tool and I stuck it in the corner, and I took a measurement off the dial indicator, and as here you can see that it is slightly more than 45 degrees, about 45.5, which would be about 91 degrees. So the other angles that we can measure would be an outside corner, and I decided to take a measurement of the outside corner here at the edge of my door. And all you do is you put the tool up against both edges by flipping the arms 180 degrees, and once again you read the actual angle. Now mine came out to be about 47.5 degrees, and I made a little test piece, and as you can see, when you actually put this piece in there, it's a perfect fit at 47.5 degrees, because this wall is definitely not a perfect 90. Now the other thing that I wanted to show you is what we mean by a single cut. A single cut is if you just wanted to find out the angle of something without having to cut a piece of molding or to have to make a miter joint to match that angle. My Bluetooth speaker here is a good example of this. When I first originally designed this, I really didn't have a good idea of what the angle was that I wanted to be aesthetically pleasing on this, so I just arbitrarily guesstimated what would look good, and I didn't really like that idea. Now, had I had this tool previously, and what I intend to use it for in the future is, now I can literally lay this down and I can move the arms to whatever angle that I want. And when I find an angle that is pleasing to me, or I think will work best for whatever it is that I'm working on, then I can just read the number off of the indicator and know what that angle is going to be. And as you can see, there is an angle to it. It's not just a straight flat cut across the front of it. Now this right here, when I took a measurement of it with this tool, I measured about 22 degrees. Now I was not 100% accurate as to having it level across the top, as you know, it is a rounded edge, but I came up with 22 degrees. But as you can see from the image here, this is the actual 3D CAD file that I was working on, and as you can see, it is basically designed with a 22.5 degree angle, so I was not off by that much, just a minuscule amount. So again, had I had this tool, I could have moved the arms to whatever angle that I felt comfortable with, and then at that point I could have just read the number off and typed it into my CAD. Now here I am setting up the miter box to cut a 45 degree angle, and I'm using my Lexivon measuring tape, which I've grown to love, to measure out a piece about 1 foot. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to set the miter gauge to 35.3 degrees. And if you haven't noticed yet, I just pulled a rookie mistake and placed my workpiece upside down, which resulted in an inside corner rather than an outside corner. Now the second step is to set your bevel angle of the blade to 30 degrees. And once you've done that, then you can make your first cut. So now all that's left to do is to just reverse the process completely for the other side and attach the two pieces together. And you end up with a perfect 45 degree miter cut. And when it's all said and done, when it's installed, it'll be a perfectly installed piece of molding that fits beautifully into the corner. Now overall, I would classify this as a tool that is not something that I'm probably going to use every day, but I can guarantee you that when I need something like this, it's going to be a really helpful tool to have.
You just never know when you're going to need to, do something around the house that you need to find. And I'm sure my wife at some point is going to have me do some more molding around the house somewhere along the line. And again, I originally wanted this for my 3D printing, so that when I design something, it gives me a better visual cue as to, how things are going to look or where they're going to sit. I apologize for the video being the way that it is. It was already running a little bit long before I started editing, and with the voiceover and the dubbing, it didn't come out quite as nice as I would have liked, and I do apologize for that. But if anybody seeing this video likes what you see here, I will leave a link down below where you can purchase one of these. And again, as always, thank you for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see here, and don't forget to click that little bell icon and you'll be notified when my new video comes out. And there is another video in the works that's coming out, and I think there might be another Lexivon tool video coming out at some point too. So again, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.